And that's a typical TLC these days. What the PEDs start with is a strategy, a technique, just something to break the ice with staff. Or they ask a member of staff, that was for the first session. For the second, third and fourth sessions, the PED leaders knew what was going on in these joint practice development triads, and they were asking people to bring something that they'd done in one of their lessons and share. So it starts with a kind of like showcase of something that we tried, might have worked, might not have worked, no gradings or judgments on it. And then into the triad working for the next stage of observations. And then the student pedagogy day was probably the thing that capped it off for us. The kids were off timetable but in uniform. They were aligned vertically, which they never are in our school. We're strictly in year groups. And we introduced them to the accelerated learning cycle and to the learning themes that the teachers have been part of. We used some of the same activities that were done with teachers with the kids. They were short workshops. Every teacher delivered a workshop. The teachers had a choice of what sessions they wanted to deliver, and if they didn't like anything on offer, they could put ideas forward. And again, that was led by the PEDs. That was their decision about the structure of it, the organisation of it, the deployment of staff. And it's great. It's fabulous because the amount of work you do as a senior leader to organise days like this, and you employ some people and say, you organise it. And they do an absolutely beautiful job. Because there's 6 of them, they're kind of like self-regulating. It's beautiful. And the students were really engaged with it. We got internal feedback from an MFL teacher, not always one of our most positive members of staff, but certainly a very talented member of staff. Doesn't always like the way we've done things in the past. And just brimming with positivity, but a depth of thinking as well. But on that pedagogy day, we invited, via Twitter and via the local sort of networks, people to come and see and learn, learn with our kids, learn from our PEDs. I talked to them about our whole, Cannons OPP, PED leaders, that sort of thing. And this was the feedback that they gave us. So I put this on the blog site actually. PED leaders is fantastic. The PED leaders are fantastic. I love this one here. Yes, the staff are amazing. Yes, SLT have to trust that these changes would happen, capitalise trust. But you know what? From an outside perspective, I saw innovation and resilience at its best. I feel a better teacher for it, which was wonderful. This one at the bottom was a lady called Bryony Flowers, who was on Twitter, and she said, I'm keen to develop an LPP group and PED leaders. Within 3 days, she contacted me to say that her head had given her permission, instead of seconding people to SRT for it, to actually use that money, instead to pay ordinary staff in the classrooms to lead on the pedagogy at their school. So, really nice that somebody else has done something different. So I'm hoping to go to her school and see how she's taken it on, what they've done differently that we can learn back from. We set up our Cannons Broadside blog spot. Really proud of this. 20,000 hits or so far. Initially it was me. All of the stuff that I put at the beginning about the theory, about the surplus model, and about bottom up, so if you look at the early posts, they're all me. And then a couple of senior leaders got involved, but then the PEDs started getting involved, and they started blogging as well. So this one here is from, we have challenge partners round, and this teacher decided to really give students responsibility for the lesson, knowing that there was an observation coming. She blogged about it, fantastic blog. This one by Joe, who's one of our PED leaders. Both of these were one of our two RNQTs. That has had nearly 2,000 hits now. Easily the most popular on the website, and it's great for me to say, can you contribute towards Cannons Broadside? The lead post isn't some kind of like theory, it's a practical, how do you do solo? What's the activity, how do you set it up, what's its impact, and how do you know it's worked? But then we start getting people beyond the PED leaders, our future PED leaders, who were contributing to the broadside as well. So this guy's working in a coaching triad, so it was all about his experience of working in the coaching triad. He applied for PED leader and has got it today, so you've been informed sometime while I've been out of school. And this was from another one who's started his own website, and he was the number 7 when we had 6 PED leaders to appoint today. He's just missed it by a whisker, but I'm absolutely certain he'll come back again next time and give it another go. And they're outward facing. now. They're publishing their stuff, they're getting responses from people, and the guy who wrote the stuff about building his own website, he's now working with another school helping them to build their website because they saw the post. The impact on them: 5 out of the 6 of the first wave have been promoted. One of them's moved up to become an assistant head teacher. 3 of them have gone on to take on TLR. The 3 NQTs have gone on to take TLR responsibility points, including, unfortunately, one of my favourite head leaders who worked so brilliantly, but she's decided she's focusing on rather than English now. And fair play to her. So she said she might come back next year when she's got her English right for it. And then one's got an external promotion to a head of department's job. The impact on them is they have genuine autonomy. We let them do what they want to do. We do sometimes go, not sure, and sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't, and that's their choice. But they also have accountability, particularly like on those inset days. You know your response to crap inset days. That they have that. They've got to face that if that comes about. It's not happened yet. When it does, we'll help pick them up and dust them off, but that will be theirs. And they are seen as leaders by teachers, and including some of, how do I put it, harder to reach teachers. One of them in particular, who I've managed for years and I've had such a battle with, he's formed a really close working relationship with. He's one of the ones that we would have put with a certain group. He's formed a really close relationship with them and his practice has just developed and developed. They have become outstanding teacher. Oh yeah, one of them is taken on the outstanding teacher programme, and we've put her through the outstanding facilitator programme so she can lead on delivery of our outstanding teacher programme with other staff and within our teaching skill lines. They're making presentations to SSAT events, so they're presenting to the national conference about it, and next week on Friday they're presenting at the Achievement Show. They've got a 45-minute slot in their keynote zone, one of only I think 5 or 6 presentations of that day in the keynote zone. 4 of Canon staff participated in London, the first pedagogy event in England. For the school, we had a challenge partners peer review which said, I think I remember the quote, that this is a beautiful model of how teaching and learning should be done. Best quote ever. Heart lifts. Broadsides had a lot of views. The Ped Leaders version 2 had 13 applications, which was down from last year, but they were all quality and all appointable, and they just resonated with what the first wave of Ped Leaders had done, and an idea of where to take it next, without doing something brand new, but building on it and taking it forward. We've set up our Canon's Pedagogy Directory, our own kind of like come up and see me sometime register, which is going to link to the broadside, hopefully to a YouTube channel, so people can blog about things that they've done that they think is outstanding elements of lesson and get other people to share that. And that's kind of like building, and hopefully that's going to come very strong. We've developed, I think, a coaching culture this year and a peer support culture that it's not about SLT coming in and observing. We only observe 1 lesson a year because the rest of it now is done peer-led observations. And as at last count, although I think I've spoken to somebody tonight who's the 7th one, there are at least 6 schools that have a similar model of Ped Leaders as well. John Thompson School in Huntington, he's done a wonderful blog post about his school improvement planning meeting, and they are introducing from September 6 people who have responsibility for delivering pedagogy. That's nice to have that. Most importantly though, teaching and learning is improved in our school. 4 of the applicants for Ped Leaders this time didn't have an outstanding judgment. 2 of them had hit good all the way through, and we went and saw them, and 3 of them hit outstanding on an observed lesson, and hit it not by doing beautiful, lots of post-it notes and lots of cut bits of card, by proper pedagogy, by proper good teaching and learning going on, and by a continual thread running through their lessons that showed that they got how students learn. I'm going to leave the last set of slides to one of the Ped Leaders. Joe, who's at Science NQT, he's one of, at the Achievement Show, we've got 45 minutes slot. I'm going to do a couple of minutes at the start, a couple of minutes at the end. The rest of it is up to them. They're delivering it. I don't know what they're doing. Well, I know this bit. But they have autonomy with this. Again, very public, Canon's on display, but it's their show, it's their gig. They have to say what works for them. And he showed me this, and I thought, I've got to use it. So he said that SLT had charged Ped Leaders with creating a bottom-up approach. They wanted the Ped Leaders to get staff buzzing and pollinating ideas, cross-pollinating ideas across the school. And because of that, they wanted them to nurture, to water, to bring about an improvement within the school. And then they reminded me that I told them at the time something that I'd heard from the deputy head at Cramlington School, Mark Lovett: don't water the rocks, baby. Okay? In other words, don't expend all your energy on sometimes they're known as morale vacuums or drains or whatever it stuff is. Okay, don't water the rocks. And I thought, great, he's got a message. And then he said, but what the head leaders realised this year is sometimes rocks play a really important role in blooming, in nurturing soil. Sometimes they play the most important role of all to avoid them getting swamped. Rocks, because he's a science teacher, are extremely porous things. Extremely porous things. And because of that, if you look after them, and if you water them occasionally, they can bloom. And actually, sometimes they can do something quite extraordinary. And I thought, why would I finish on anything different? That's it. Thank you. Any questions? I'm looking at the time. I'm bang on 7 o'clock. That's perfect. But I think we've got a couple of minutes for if there are any questions or anything.
Yeah, I have just maybe advice. We're looking at doing something similar in our school. It's convincing SLT to give us the total autonomy. They've given us kind of, they're nervous to do it because it's an outstanding school. They want to keep hold of that and they're scared of letting go. Do you have any advice to?
Send them over to us. We can send our pet leaders over. You know, I mean, they're brilliant. They will communicate extremely well. Get them looking at our broadside blog because it's got all of the theory behind it, plus examples of how it works in practice. So, for example, I wrote up 2 of the insect days on blog posts, and in that clearly show what pet leaders did towards it. Are you on SLT yourself?
No.
Okay, right. Find somebody on SLT who will be brave and who will be bold and try and win it round. One of the most important parts of this, actually, although I try to diminish its importance, is the PED team at the centre. We've got an SLT that's 9 or 10 strong, depending on whether we've seconded somebody. And this was too important to let a kind of like people who didn't know about it make decisions about it. So the PED team is myself, the assistant head who's in charge of teaching and learning, the assistant head who's in charge of CPD, one of the PED leaders, and a guy in charge of e-learning who's again not an SLT. I deliberately took that group away from SLT so we could have those discussions, and then we go back to SLT saying, this is a good idea, but we've already worked it through. And having that, so you don't have your data manager or your school business manager kind of like but you can't do that, and money, and yeah, I think that is, I would liken it to we clear the path for the PED leaders. We make space so that they can be genuinely innovative about what we do.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
You said that most of your PED leaders have now been promoted. Would you ever consider one of your existing PED leaders carrying on into a second term?
Yeah, 2 of them that have been given the job today for version 2, 2.0, whatever we can call it. They are the PED leaders, 2 PED leaders continuing forward. 3 of them applied, 1 of them then withdrew because she just felt she'd had to go every year and she wanted more people to have opportunities, which is kind of like a signal of what a wonderful person she is. So 2 of them have applied, and that's great because that's a thread continuing forward. We don't want to get into this trick of going, oh, a new broach on the idea, we're going to add it. It's completely different to what we've done before. We've got our Canons Pedagogy, we call it the Canons Pedagogy. We now need to infuse that through MQT induction and through lots of other things. And we want to enrich it now. And I suppose the idea is like, if you imagine the central papier-mâché model, the mesh, and then you layer stuff on top of it, that's what we want to do so that it retains its core purpose.
Similarly, developing quite a similar programme at my school at the moment, kind of network of lead practitioners, but unfortunately I haven't got any money to attach to it. So I'm kind of selling it on the idea that we will develop them as leaders and there'll be that kind of tailored CPD package for them. But have you got any tips on how you've done that in-house to develop your leaders?
They meet once every 2 weeks after school on Thursday, their own time. They meet with the assistant head. Because there's 6 they're a team, we encourage them to read widely. We provide literature for them to read. we've got them on